I'd like to call the special board meeting of the Village of Monee on March 17th at 6:30. Call to order, would you please? Okay, we'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Could you all please rise? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Denisha, roll call, please, when you're set.
Trustee Blue?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez?
Yes.
Trustee Horn?
Here.
Trustee Razek?
Present.
Trustee Wilson?
Present.
Trustee Udris?
Present.
Thank you. Larry, I'll...
Thank you, Mayor. At this point in time, we'd like to review the two items on the agenda. E, review of pending litigations, and F, personnel. The first item regarding the pending litigation is Village of Monee versus, I believe it was Chad Blake and others. I don't have the exact caption, but this regards the pending lawsuit with respect to the pension fund. Obviously, everyone's here tonight to discuss that. There has been quite a bit of discussion on Facebook and other matters. The board has the option tonight, after discussion among themselves, to dismiss the lawsuit with, from a legal terminology, with prejudice, which would mean that that case, the pending case, would be over completely. The motion would be, we would, if the board deems appropriate, authorize our labor counsel to file the appropriate paperwork. She is presently in Florida, but she would authorize someone in her firm to file the paperwork with the Will County Courts to dismiss the matter with prejudice in order to stop the lawsuit, and hopefully the police officers at that point in time will have assurances that this lawsuit will not proceed. So tonight, if the board deems appropriate, you can authorize that motion. I would then contact our labor attorney, again, who's in Florida, otherwise she would be here, authorizing her firm, Ansel Glink, to dismiss the lawsuit with prejudice.
Are we gonna just...
Yep.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
We have discussion.
We do have
I'm sorry,
discussion.
speak up when I say it, please.
I'll start it. I must admit that when this story of the police pension erupted last week, I was completely blindsided. This issue that is before us tonight had been discussed by this board in executive session for several months before we voted on January 27th. When I and the board voted for declaratory judgment, it was because the board and the police officers had come to an impasse and the judge would adjudicate an equitable solution to the issue. At least that was my understanding of the way this would play out. I was shocked as anyone when I heard what had happened. Make no mistake, I'm not blaming anyone for my vote on this matter. I take full responsibility for this and for not asking more detailed questions on this matter. It should be noted, however, that as trustees, you have entrusted us to watch over the village finances. And that means watching over our budget and finances. We are accountable to you, the taxpayer. Just to be clear, this money is the officer's contribution, and we sought to find an equitable compromise for an error that had gone on for 9 years and through 3 administrations. My motivation was to find a solution that was agreeable to everyone. It became agreeable to no one. I do want to end this by saying that I value our law enforcement and their work, and I think this board does. I think this is shown by the willingness of this board to enlarge our force in the next year and by the unanimous vote to urge our governor to veto the now infamous crime bill, which he did not do, as you probably know. In summary, I know that I want to put this in the rearview mirror, put this to rest, and rebuild the confidence of both the public and police.
Thank you, Doug. Anyone else?
First and foremost, to the men and women on our police department, I offer a very sincere apology for the humiliation that you must have gone through. Like Trustee Horn, I was completely outraged when I saw this on Facebook. I honestly didn't even know how to react to it because it was nothing that I had discussed. It's nothing that I had voted on. My understanding was that with this declaratory judgment, it was an administrative hearing, as I was told, where both sides were simply submitting in writing where their positions were, and the judge would look at that, and the judge would look at the law and render a decision. At no time did we talk about summonses, subpoenas, anything of that nature, because I would have been adamantly against it. As residents, I stand before you because you elected me and trusted me to make sound decisions. I truly felt that I was making a sound decision in doing something that still remained peaceful, still remained respectful of our law enforcement officers. And as soon as I learned that that's not the direction that this had gone, I immediately began conversations, with other trustees about what we can do to change this and what direction that we need to go, because I felt betrayed by the administration. Extremely upset with this. And tonight, I hope that we can at least start the path to put this right.
And I'd like to say a few things too. First of all, let me first say that I'm sorry any of us have to be here tonight at all, but this board, myself included, felt it was the best for the village to do so. Second, I'd like to take the chance to say that I've been involved in various capacities in Monee since nearly the first day we moved here. And I have to tell you, this has been one of the most difficult situations I felt since being here. This board all have full-time jobs, plus spend many hours a month in various capacities, time away from our families, trying to do the best we can for Monee, the community in which we live and love. We are fully involved, invested in its success, just as you. We all pay the same taxes, the same water bills, and work hard for all of our families. And we all hope to do our best and stay involved as much as we are able. And I will say, I stayed involved when my family suffered the most difficult tragedy that any family could face. And I will tell you that a few of these officers offered my family some of the most comforting words and gesture that anyone else has and continue to this day. That being said, to the police department and the officers involved, in no way, under any circumstance, for any reason, did I know or knowingly intend that this judgment would be presented to you in this manner. I wanted it fairly handled for the best of the community and the police department and all of you. If I could turn back time, undo the unjust, I would do so. I cannot. So today I hope to say to you, and I want this matter tended to be resolved quickly, fairly, and be behind us. And finally, let me personally say to the Monee police officers and the department, I'm sorry.
Okay, Heidi? Anyone else?
Yes. First, I'd like to start off by saying I wholeheartedly apologize to the hardworking men and women of Monee Police Department who have sworn to protect us. As I've expressed to others my feelings of disappointment, betrayal in this matter, but I don't blame one person solely. We all have a part to play in this. But with that being said, I don't want this ever to come to pass again. And there's some corrections. It's been a learning experience, a valuable one. Ultimately, one person is not responsible for this act. Many hands have touched this. The system is broken. We're working on fixing it. There is by no way, if we fully understood the magnitude of what was going to take place, we would be here. That is why I feel betrayed. But it has been a valuable lesson, so we can move forward and make the necessary corrections that need to be made, so we're not back in this place, so that we don't disenfranchise those who are sworn to protect us. Thank you.
I echo what every trustee has said this evening. What happened this week was just unthinkable. You could never possibly imagine that this would happen to our own police force. When I first learned of it, the first thing I did was call the chief, and he filled me in. He told me what was going on, and it was unbelievable. All of the trustees, without exception, that had spoken to, felt the same way, including the mayor. We were all blindsided. And as several trustees have said, all we can do is learn from it and build better relationships. I think one thing I assumed, I can only speak for myself, is that we assume relationships are strong because people in authority tell us they are, and we need to know for ourselves. So certainly I echo again our apologies to our police department, to the village of Monee. For anyone this has affected, I know it certainly has blindsided us, and we're completely thrown by it. So my apologies.
Thank you, Janet. Anthony, I have to ask you if you have anything to say.
I mean, everybody said everything else before they got to me, so.
What was that?
Everybody said everything else before they all got to me. I mean, we all are on the same page here. But I have to agree with Doug said, like we just thought it was just going to go before the judge, and the judge was going to take care of it. We didn't think everyone was going to get served at their houses like they all did, so. That's that.
And I'd like to say that immediately I got calls from the trustees and everything of what was going on, and we called for the special meeting right away. You realize we have to have it set up and have a 48-hour announcement for it to make it legal. So here we are trying to do the right thing when the wrong thing was done. So, any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Razik?
Yes.
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
Trustee Blue?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. In connection with that, you would need, for the board's review, a motion to have the village assume the police pension fund liability that was the subject of this lawsuit. I believe the amount was roughly $52,000.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
So the first question that I have with that is that there was a letter that was posted on social media that I believe went to Daryl Bolliner that said that the police pension fund had absolved any money due by both the officers and the village. Where do we stand with that? Is that a letter that actually went out? Our money still due? Where exactly are we with that? Because it seems contradictory to myself.
First time I saw it was over the weekend. I believe it might be appropriate to contact the firm representing the pension fund and just basically indicate our intent is to work this out where the officers aren't going to pay the $52,000.
And I absolutely agree with that. I just want to make sure that in the motion that we do, that we make sure we take care of it if it needs to be taken
Yes,
care
sir.
of.
Oh, yeah.
And I will, with the board's approval, contact them first thing in the morning and express the board's desire to resolve it. Again, our main intent is not to have the officers pay that. I think the sum was $52,000.
Yes. Also, village attorney, do you understand what was meant by they took care of it? With their situation of taking care of the situation? Was it taken care of?
Honestly, I don't know. I can check into it further.
If you would, please.
I would.
Yes.
I'm not sure.
Just to mention, I believe the president of the pension fund is here, Chad Blake, so we might set up an appointment after the meeting is over.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Razik,
Yes.
Trustee Wilson,
Yes.
Trustee Udris,
Yes.
Trustee Blue, Trustee Gonzalez,
Yes.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. The next item under the subsection F of the agenda, review of personnel. In connection with what was just been said and addressed by the various board members, the current village administrator is subject, you would need a motion if the board deemed appropriate to suspend the village administrator, Dave Wallace, with pay until further notice, until a termination agreement is completed by the parties. It's up for the board's review and consideration.
Could I have a motion on that, please?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Discussion.
This is the question that I'm sure many people are asking out in the audience, so I'll verbalize it. Why does this need to be with pay? Could you comment on that, counsel?
Yes, sir. He's still on the books, obviously. He's still an employee of the village. The board has the option to say without pay, but it might be from a legal standpoint. You still need due process, you need a hearing, and until that time it's adjudicated, usually pay is appropriate. If someone's charged, and not that he is, don't get me wrong, but if someone's charged with a criminal matter and they're suspended, or a teacher or any public official, until it's properly adjudicated by the hearing officer or by a board, that individual is usually receiving pay. And if it's appropriate, I will try to get the termination agreement completed by the next board meeting. I don't know what the terms are yet. I can suggest a few terms in the termination agreement, but for 1 week, I think in order to avoid potential repercussions, I think it's well worth it.
And just to, thank you, and just to follow up on that, the administrator serves at the legal term, maybe the consent of the advice and consent of the mayor, at the pleasure of the mayor, I would say. Is that
Yes,
correct?
sir. He or she is appointed. The mayor makes the appointment with the advice and consent of the board of trustees.
So, okay, so that means they could terminate that position at any time? Is that
Under
correct?
our current ordinance, I reviewed it last night, the board has the right to terminate or suspend an administrator, and this was set forth in 2005, I believe it is, by 2/3 of the vote. So the board, if you have 2/3 of the vote, it's authorized to suspend, discipline, terminate, whatever the board feels is appropriate. But it's the mayor's selection, so that's with the advice and consent of the board. So, and that's standard procedure. He's a supervisory position, non-union, so that's proper procedure.
I guess my comment would be, I would be willing to vote for this as it stands, but with the understanding that the termination agreement is in the works and would be presented to us at the next board meeting, or
Yes, sir.
time is of the essence.
Yeah, I understand. I'll try to have something drafted, presented to the board at the next board meeting. Memory serves me correctly, we'll get it on the agenda by Friday, so they'll, I'll remember it that way, but I'm already working on some terminology I think would be acceptable.
Thank you.
So the question that sticks in, that is sticking in my head, and maybe you explained it and I missed it, why are we starting with a suspension first, not just doing termination from the beginning? I'm sure people in the audience are thinking the same thing.
Well, I understand, but again, from a legal standpoint, we haven't adjudicated him or her of anything, you know, and against the mayor's call and the board's call with respect to possibly suspension or discharge conservatively for 1 week's time frame. I think it's well worth doing it this way. I mean, terminating someone without, and again, he or she's an at-will employee, but terminating someone without the opportunity to be heard, I think that's not a good precedent. Again, you read it in the paper every day where people are charged with serious criminal matters. And whether it be a board, a village, a school district, whoever, they don't terminate them, right, him or her. They want to give that person an opportunity to be heard. It's called due process. It's a safety mechanism, so no one's rights are trampled on. But I think 1 week, within, 5 days, 7 business days, we'll have a agreement before the board.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion?
Yes, so would it potentially put the village in more harm's way or costs if potentially he could sue for damages later or to recoup his salary? Is that what I'm...
Well, if the board recalls, there was a suspension, no, I take that back, termination about a year ago with another employee. I won't name names, but we remember this individual. We did the same thing. We followed the same procedure, and from a legal standpoint, I think it's safe this way by suspending him with pay. It reduces our potential exposure, and we have to remember one thing. There are different classifications of plaintiffs, depending on age, race. There's different areas, and he's in a guarded class, so I just want to be cautious.
Okay.
Because not only do you have a state potential liability, you have federal liability. So with 1 week's pay, I mean, that's ballpark, $3,000, something like that. To me, it's well worth it, because if they ever do recover and they sue, you just want to reduce exposure.
Thank you.
Well, are we going to vote on this right now?
I think there's a,
A motion and a second.
There's a
Yeah.
motion and a second.
Would you read the motion again, please, Denisha?
I'll do it.
So,
Oh, Larry? Go ahead, Larry.
See these glasses, okay? A motion to suspend Village Administrator Dave Walls with pay until further notice, until a termination agreement is completed by the parties. Again, I've been asked, and I'll have it completed by Wednesday, what's today, March 24th, next board meeting.
Okay, that's the motion and second. Is there any other discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Trustee Wilson,
Yes.
Trustee Udress.
Yes.
Trustee Blue,
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez,
Yes.
Trustee Horn,
Yes.
Trustee Razick.
Yes.
That's all I have under E and F, Mayor.
Okay, so now I would say we
Go to open to the public.
Okay. We'll go to open to the public. Anything you'd like to say? Go ahead, Rhonda.
I'm ready.
It is 3
Can you
minutes.
hear me with this mask?
I'm sorry?
Can you hear me with the mask on?
Yes.
Okay. Name and address, Rhonda Thompson, 25541 McCorkle Avenue, a 20-year almost resident of Monee. I just listened to everyone talk today, and I'll try to stay in my 3 minutes. If you'd allow me an extra 30 seconds, I'd appreciate it. Declaratory judgment. Google it. Ruling of a judge that resolves the legal uncertainty for litigants. Actions have consequences. You had a licensed attorney. I'm a licensed attorney. You had a licensed attorney in the back room with you when you decided to vote and decided to file a declaratory action. A licensed attorney is well aware, and we pay him. The whole village, all these people knew. They knew. You knew. You had to have known a summons would be issued. It's a lawsuit. So you file a motion, you file this declaratory action, the police officers get served, their addresses are public. I don't need to explain how dangerous that is. This administration, you're my neighbors. We live in the same town, like Heidi said. But I see a pattern of dumbfounding and nonsensical decisions. And I see bully tactics. I see reactions to Facebook. We're ruling by Facebook? I trusted you. I voted for you, all of you. You're a trustee. Trust. That's the operative word there. I put my issues in your hands. I expected the utmost care and concern and diligence to be taken in the issues facing this community, and they have not been. To say that you were misled, or to say that you were misinformed, or to say maybe just plain confused for no reason. You voted on something and didn't know what it was. This sounds like Washington to me. Obama healthcare, just sign it, we'll read it later. That's not what I trusted you to do. And this doesn't just go with the police. You're doing it to other employees, and each and every one of you know what I'm talking about. It's not just the police. It's other employees. And it's going on. And you selected Mr. Wallace. We didn't. But we're stuck with him. So of course I forgive you. You're my friends, you're my neighbors. But I find it inexcusable. For example, the creamery, $500,000 last year. You only spent $345,000 of it. Thank you. But we need to sue the police. DPW, we put aside $4 million for a building over in University Parkway, wherever this is, Industrial Drive, sorry. You only spent $83,000 for a building we don't use, but that's okay, let's sue the police. Purchase of land, you set aside $300,000. You spent $480,000. You're over your budget, should we sue you? I'm asking you all, and I will close, I promise, Tanisha, I hear your timer. I will close asking each and every one of you individually to re-examine why you're sitting here. I would love to know. Please reevaluate why you're in this chair. You're not there for the paycheck, folks. I've sat in your chair. You're here because we trusted you. We believed in you, that you cared about us. And what has happened is inexcusable. If you have lost the faith and trust of these people, I ask you all, get out of the chair. There's good residents here who would take your place. And they will take my interest, their interest, and the whole community's interest, whether they like us or not. They will consider actions and their consequences. Thank you.
Most
You don't
people
need
know
to tell
me.
your address, just your name.
Larry Cockle, ex-mayor, everything, except I'm still president of the fire board. I want to know, I think 4 out of 5 or 4 out of 6 said they were blindsided. Who were you blindsided by? The attorney or Mr. Wallace? I think both of them should go. The attorney's been here too long. He's in a rut, and I think he should be replaced along with Wallace. Thank you.
My name's Mike. I live in town, obviously. I'm friends with a couple people on the board over there. Police sergeant, dispatcher him for a very long time. I heard the word betrayed come from your guys' mouths quite a few times today. How do you think those guys felt when they get that lawsuit served at their house? I'm a police officer myself. You did that in my city, you're gonna have a blue flu come in and nobody coming to work. You don't do that to your officers. I don't care what you gotta do to get that money, you don't do it to your officers. And Mike, you know that wasn't right. You know it, okay? Those guys are my friends. I mean, we all preach back the blue. Some of you on the board probably don't. That's cool, it is what it is. But our job is hard enough as it is out there. And then to get served at your house, and like she said, now your address is public. It's hard enough driving to work. I've been followed home multiple times from people I've stopped and I've arrested. Now these guys have to worry about that because it's made public? It's not right. It's not right. You guys messed up. And for somebody who's running for mayor, you should be ashamed of yourself. Ashamed of yourself for that. That's ridiculous. Personally, if I were you, as embarrassed as I'd be right now, I withdraw from the race because there's no way you're going to win this. No way. And I'm out. This is embarrassing.
May I have your last name for the record, please?
Nope.
Okay.
Al Janecko, I wanted to start by saying, Heidi, that's terrible. I'm sorry about your son. That's a horrible thing to have to hear, and my sympathies are for you. But each and every one of you got your hands caught in the cookie jar. Not one of you, I don't care who you are, and I voted for a lot of people on this board. Y'all are here today because of a Facebook post. I don't want to hear any of this. He might be the reason, Mr. Wallace, but you guys did zero investigating. How could I get a letter on January 7th from the Police Board's Commission that says the village and the police don't owe a dime? But y'all went after him anyway. So I'm sorry, but I echo what he said. I'd be embarrassed if I were you guys. This is the police. This isn't me. And I owe you guys tax money. This is the police. They protect you. They sit here to protect you guys from people who could possibly be violent. And you're disgraceful for what you did with that. Absolutely disgraceful. So that's really all I have to say. I wish you wouldn't have done it, but look inside yourself. While you're throwing him under the bus, y'all voted for it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sharon Daly Gabriel, resident for over 14 years. I'm with a lot of these other neighbors here. I voted for a lot of you guys, and I've supported a lot of you, but I can also tell you that I've had the police literally just this winter in one of the snowstorms stopped for a stranded dog, for a little old lady that was out in her socks that couldn't get to her dog. These people go out of their way. When there's shootings that nobody hears about, and they make sure that everything's quiet and that our little town is safe, and you guys have the audacity to have them sued with their addresses for public knowledge, you think that there aren't people in this neighborhood that are gangbangers, that don't have a grudge against them? You put their family's safety in harm's way. And you think that it's no big deal and you're gonna throw him under the bus? He was already fired once from a previous administration. And you brought him back anyway, and you trusted him again. And as the attorney said, he went to law school, they all had to pass the bar exam.
He wasn't fired, You
know what?
he
Here's the
resigned.
thing, Mayor, okay? Everybody up here had their 3 minutes.
I know.
Okay?
I just
Can
want-
I, as a resident who pays my taxes,
A
who
fact
pays
is
my
a-
water bill, who does everything else, have my 3 minutes, please?
Yeah,
That was
so
just
the facts-
disrespectful.
I'm just saying the
You know what?
facts-
I don't have pet projects here that cost all of us $345,000 to have an empty building redone, when pay the men what's due them. Because if it was a clerical error on our side of the administration, then it was a clerical error on our side. They were willing to pay it back 9 years ago, I'm sure. There are police officers that are about to retire that are now owed 9 years' worth of interest compounded daily. Are we going to pay them? No, we're going to pay them just what's owed, $53,000. How about all those other people that are owed 9 years' worth of interest? What does that accumulate to? Y'all need to take that into consideration. Thank you.
Joseph Krakowski, Monee resident. I agree with what everybody says, so I'm not going to reiterate everything. I did type something out, but I mean, the police, like they say, it's a dangerous job. Their addresses, they do a lot to protect their addresses. Not knowing what you guys were voting for, why vote? There's a thing called table. Table it. Come back to it. Then you're saying that you don't know if the pension board knows. If you don't know if the pension board said, okay, you know what, resolution, it's taken care of. You guys don't know anything about that, but you voted to go against the cops of the village that protects us. Everybody talks, oh, this cop this cop that. I've ran into almost every officer on the force for different reasons. Each one of them did what they could to help for whatever capacity. You know, somebody might have a beef with this one or that one. Well, maybe you shouldn't have been such a jerk to them and have an attitude, and you might have got, because you didn't get the results you wanted, you don't like them. They're an officer to serve and protect. They're not here to serve and protect us. They're here to serve and protect the law, the Constitution. Everybody thinks, oh, I pay my taxes, you work for me. No, he works for the laws. To serve and protect the laws. And now, when they do their job, they got to worry about if somebody's going to come home to be at their house waiting for them. Over $53,000 that was known about for 9 years. I hear that they said, hey, money's not taken out right. Look at it. Don't worry, it's all good. And we're talking about suspending him with pay, okay? Well, he's not here, so I'm not gonna, as you said in your form, I'm not gonna address that issue unless one comment. He's not union, he's an employee. I'm an employee at the company I work for. I got a full-time job, I have a business I'm trying to run also on the side. If I mess up at my job, I'm fired without pay. I don't get a review board, I don't get this, he's non-union. Maybe if I was union, I get a review board. If I was an officer, I go in front of the IPA, whatever it's called. That, you know, he's an employee. If he did something wrong, and nobody's saying if it's criminal or not, apparently it was kind of hinted at that there's criminal activity because we're afraid of firing a guy because criminal this or that, whatever. He's an employee, fire him. And as everybody said, we all voted for you guys. I want to say I probably voted for every one of you. I don't remember, I don't, you know, go back all that long, but you guys lost the trust of the village. We can't backpedal out of this. This village is going to have a very great cloud over them. We want to bring people in. They're going to look at this, look at social media. We're a laughing stock. That's all. Thank you.
Elizabeth Rakes, 6014 West Ford Court, Monee, Illinois. On my drive over here tonight, I thought to myself I wasn't going to say anything. I was just going to sit and listen to the people. And I wasn't going to say anything at all. But I watched every trustee here tonight apologize. And I felt it was sincere. I felt you meant it. But Trustee Rasek, I didn't hear you apologize. What I heard you say was, well, like what they say. Same thing. Which means you go along to get along, in my opinion. That's how I feel sitting there as a resident. We expect our trustees to use their brains, speak their thoughts, not the thoughts of everyone else. We trust the trustees to make decisions for us. I also didn't hear an apology from you, Mayor Pop. Both of you owe the police department and the residents an apology. And I'll offer you to do that now. I'm waiting.
So you want me to backpedal and apologize?
I don't want you to backpedal. What I want you to do is say I was wrong. I want you to say I didn't do my due diligence. I want you to say I'm sorry to every police officer here who puts that uniform on and protects this town. With the way this country is going, they're trying to defund police all over the place. We won't have that here in Monee. Under no circumstances. You think this is people? This town will rally everybody together. We need our police. We love our police. We trust our police. I'm waiting for your apology.
Nobody's saying anything about defunding the police, but
Not talking about you defunding. I'm just letting you know just in case anybody ever decides to.
well, I'll backpedal and I apologize to the Monee Police Department for
Thank
making
you.
my motion.
How about you, Mayor Pop?
I'm scheduled for a meeting tomorrow with the police department. Both
How about doing it here in public?
Of course I'm gonna apologize. I mean,
Okay.
what you guys are all really persecuting the trustees.
No, I am not persecuting any trustee. I am not. I feel that everyone here sincerely apologized, except you didn't, and neither did Trustee Rasek.
I'm done.
I'm still waiting, Mayor Pop.
You're not gonna get it. I'm
Yeah.
talking to the police department in private tomorrow.
You know what, Mayor Pop, let me say something to you, with all due respect to this board. was 54 years old before I ever voted a day in my life, because my commander-in-chief is Almighty God. I registered to vote for you. First time ever in my life. I was proud to vote for you. I am embarrassed of myself today. You turned this town over to Dave Wallace 6 months into your administration. I met you in Marilyn's restaurant, and I told you, Mayor Pop, talk of the town is Dave Wallace is running it. We did not elect Dave Wallace. We elected you, and you've done a good job.
I'm sure John Henson, I'm sure each and every one of you guys know how I feel about our men and women in blue here in Monee. It doesn't matter if I'm running for trustee or not. I would be here today standing up for them. I would back them up. I've got their 6 and I'll always have their 6. Evidently, there's a lot of people in here that don't want to do the due diligence to look at something. Our police, maybe we should look into this. Maybe we should table it, and maybe we should come over here and do a little bit of due diligence instead of looking incompetent. I hear people saying, oh, they were tricked into it. Oh, okay, so you're gullible and incompetent. Or are you just complacent, like that man right there? He won't even apologize to the people. He don't even have to give the officers an apology because he's got a meeting tomorrow. What about the people, Mayor Pop?
You're talking that.
You got in there? Oh, now you're not going to say anything. Any other time, you'll have somebody's mic shut off, ask them to be physically removed, or you'll interrupt. Now you won't. Because you know I'm pissed off, and these guys here, all of these police officers, they take care of us. And any chance that I've got to stand up and take care of them, I'm going to do it. That's all I got to say. Do some due diligence next time. The coronavirus plan, they got left out of that too. Janet Blue motioned for that one. Rasick seconded. This one here for the lawsuit, Rasick motioned for it. Janet Blue seconded. Is that some sort of a thing there or what? I don't see any of you guys motioning it. And then anytime it's something against the police, it seems like those two right there are in on it.
Ronald Lindstrom, been a resident for 21 years. I doubt anyone in this town disrespects these people. No one up here would ever disrespect those people. All this is a bunch of, it's all political. And it's been going on for a long time. And it's disgusting how you people sit there and throw these people under the table when they've done a lot. Thank you. I appreciate you all, and I appreciate you and everybody in the police department. I come from a family of policemen. You guys don't respect them. Mike and I know for sure you would never disrespect a policeman. So all that is just what it is.
You can take mine. Go ahead. Somebody gave me their 3 minutes. Rhonda Thompson, 25541 McCorkle. I knew this would come up, that it's political. And you're right. The only reason we're here tonight on a special meeting with a mayor that won't apologize, a board that can't understand what a declaratory judgment is with an attorney in the room, is because April 6th is 2 weeks away. If there was no election, there'd be no I'm sorry. And because some people aren't running for election, they don't feel they need to say they're sorry. You should be sorry, and you ought to apologize to these people that voted for you, Mr. Pop. It's wrong. Shame on you. I forgive my neighbors and my friends that are sitting on this board. I respect each and every one of you. I have voted for each and every one of you. I have trusted each and every one of you. You have made a mistake, a grave mistake. But the problem is that how did we get to that point? Dave Wallace, okay, we're going to hang him out to dry. That's wonderful. But that doesn't tell me how 6 folks sitting in a back room cannot stand. I would like to think that if someone told, if I had a high school child, we're going to sue and we're going to do this, over $53,000, that one of you would have asked, well, how much is this going to cost our taxpayers, these people? You know, the people that matter, not you, because we trust you. You're sitting here for us. I asked you to sit here for me. I voted for you. Somebody would say, how much is this going to cost us, folks? You'd think one of you. Oh, you mean, and if we win, what do we get? Nothing. We lose all the money we spent on the lawyers. It's our money, too. Right. We pay it. You have a village because we're here. Okay? I thought when Dr. Sheets was here a few weeks ago, I thought, well, there's got to be another side to that story. I'm not so sure. I'm really not. Is that Dave Wallace too? I mean, is that him in a beef with one of our businesses? I don't know. But I have to have faith in who's here. That's why I said, please reevaluate why you're here. Because I'd ask you all to reevaluate that and step down. If you don't want to read before you sign, step down. If you don't want to ask questions, step down. If you're not going to utilize the attorney in the room, step down. Just resign. There's good folks here that will be happy to take the time. I don't want to hear how this takes too much time from your family. I work 2 full-time jobs. I don't have time for this job. I don't have a hat in the ring, and this is not political. I don't care what he has to say.
Right.
Excuse me. It's not political. It's political because the only reason we're here is because there's an election. I'm not promoting either candidate. I'm asking for you guys to evaluate this. And please, those of you who didn't bother to ask the question, please step down. I think that's fair. And at the election, when people are in the voting booth, they can make their decision who they think will represent them and read before they sign. Thank you.
How you doing? I'm Brian Glim. I live in Monee also. My son is a police officer, spent 13 years military, 15 years on gang crimes, still in the police department. So yes, I come from police. I respect every officer for everything they do. You have an obligation to take care of these guys, no matter what it takes. You make a mistake or not, I don't care. This isn't political to me. Whatever it takes to take care of these gentlemen, period. Cut and dry, no matter what it takes. They deserve it. You think it's easy? You go put their shoes on and take a walk in their shoes and do what they do. Impossible. So take care of them.
Dr. Sheets, guys, you know, I heard every one of you tonight sit here and talk about how you didn't know what was going on in that meeting and you were blindsided. What in the hell were you doing in that room for 30 minutes almost? What were you doing? Because for you to sit here and tell us you don't know what you were doing, what are you guys doing, playing video games on your phone? I mean, seriously. And then for you guys to sit here and ask some of the questions you asked and kind of make some of those things about you is even more embarrassing than what you actually did. For every one of you to ask those questions, you should resign immediately. I'm sorry. And Attorney Gachewski, for you not to have some of the answers for the questions that they asked you this evening, your chair should be empty just like Dave Wallace's. I don't know what you guys are doing. You thought it was that important to be here tonight to call this special meeting? And you couldn't even do your homework for this meeting tonight. Again, what were you guys doing? It's a joke. And it's not political. It isn't. They can say it's political all they want. Janet, you can shake your head at me. What you guys voted on, was it political? It wasn't, right? It wasn't political. And what happened was you guys voted on something that now you all are admitting was wrong. So why is that political? It's not political. If you're going to sit there and say it's political, what you're saying is that why we're here tonight is and it's only because it's political. If that's the case, why'd you guys call the meeting? You called the meeting because you guys screwed up. Every one of you guys screwed up. And that's not political. That's you guys screwing up. And for you guys all, a couple of you said, it's not about one person. Well, you certainly threw one person under the bus, didn't you? Awful convenient.
Can I say one more thing real quick? I only took like a minute and a half of my time. Just one more thing. Thank you.
Don't just criticize
I
me
want
if
to
I don't
address
let
this
you.
guy right here. I voted for every one of you. You know that. You know that. Y'all know that. I voted for every one of you. This isn't political. It's about truth. You can say whatever you
You
want.
say always what you want to say. And
Like
I'll
I
say
said,
what I want
and
to
I'm
say.
just saying
You
what I'm
run
saying.
your mouth and I'll
And
run
I'm
my
saying
mouth.
what I'm saying to you, sir.
Give me this time.
It's not political. It's about the truth. Like one gentleman said, I work in a union. I've been in it for 27 years. I was a union steward for 20. I wouldn't be able to defend somebody like this. It just wouldn't happen. The company would come to me and say, here's your rules. Here's the rules you broke. Done. If there's no defense, there's no defense. And that's where you guys put yourself in. It's not political. I happen to like you guys. And you know that. Especially you, Anthony. You know. So, it's not political around here.
Now, your whole show, your whole show is political.
Stop yourself. Take your meds.
I want to thank you for having this meeting. I want to thank you for fixing a wrong or right. All I care about is the end result. And I know all of you are getting beat up here tonight, and that was never my intention. I just want it right, and I believe you do too. That's it. Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
Scott Kerner, Mayor, I feel compelled to come up here and speak for a minute. I've been talking to myself for 5 days trying to figure out a way I wasn't going to have to talk at this meeting, and now I'm up here doing it anyway. I'm as bad as Liz. The first thing I want to do is I want to correct something, not for the folks in here or even for you, but for anybody else that is listening, because it's bothered me a little bit with the exchange of information that I've heard here. I want to make it perfectly clear that the Monee police officers never once said they would not pay the money that they owe to this pension fund. And the Monee police officers, after much debate with the village administrator, talked to the legal firm they hired, which is has a specialty in pension funds. And that legal firm talked with the company who handles our investments. And that company determined, with the legal firm's advice, that the amount of money owed could be absorbed by the fund, and over a short period of time, the fund would make up for that loss of fund. And that's the reason that the department went with the resolution, because some of these guys had bills of $6,000 that they were expected to pay back to the pension fund. I myself owe that pension fund money because the checks were not properly withdrawn. So I just want everybody to understand that the police department and the police officers have never asked for anything to be given to them on this. We have said we just want to make this right. And we hired experts to make sure that we did the right thing. That being said, I do want to thank this community, all of you here. Thank you on behalf of myself and my officers. Thank you. You are a part of this community. Thank you. We are very fortunate in this community. I have worked for other agencies. Many of my officers have worked for other agencies. Many of my officers live in different communities. They don't enjoy the relationship in their communities among their citizens that we do here in Monee. I hope that we have a lot to do with that, but you all have a great deal to do with it also. We never ever talked about, discussed, or thought about blue flu or anything else when this came about. It never for 1 second altered what we do on a daily basis to protect and serve our community. And I'm proud of my people for that, extremely proud. Tonight, you righted a wrong. The police department appreciates that. The police department cannot tell this community how much they appreciate their support. We'll be here 24/7. We'll always be here for you. Thank you for having our backs.
Anyone else for open to the public? If not, we'll close that part of the meeting, and we'll move on to executive session. Am I correct?
Thank you, Mayor. I believe you need a motion to go in executive session regarding 5 LCS 120-2, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, and performance, or of specific employees. You need a motion to that effect, Your Honor.
Can I have a motion on that, please?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
I'll second it.
Can I have
Any
a
discussion?
discussion? Do we need that since we've kind of dealt with Mr. Wallace in a little bit?
I believe the purpose would be to discuss for the next week or so who's going to be in his position.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Gonzalez?
Yes.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Razik?
Yes.
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
Trustee Blue?
Yes.